Hi, and welcome to Cooking with Tristan. Today we'll be making my gourmet seafood mac and cheese. The ingredients we'll be using are 3 cups of warm milk, 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, or you can use 3 extra tablespoons for buttering our dish, except we're just going to use canola oil, so we only need the 6. For our meat we have 1/3 pound of cooked crab meat, 3/4 pound cooked shrimp, and a 1/2 pound cooked scallops. The way we cooked the sea scallops and the shrimp was with 1/4 cup white wine and 1 tablespoon butter, and you just cooked them until they were done. We also have our spices, and everything is a 1/2 teaspoon, so it's just pepper, paprika, ground thyme, nutmeg, and some sea salt. And once again, they're all 1/2 teaspoon. We have 1 minced clove of garlic. We have 3/4 cup cooked bacon that we just crumbled and shredded, and then we have 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs, which these are just plain, but you can use Italian or whatever you want. As far as cheese, we have 2 cups of sharp cheddar cheese shredded, and then 1 cup Fontinella cheese and 1 cup Asiago. Those are both also shredded. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do for this recipe is preheat our oven to 375 degrees. Next, you're going to want to boil 6 cups of water in a large pot or saucepan, and you're going to cook your 1 dry pound of large elbow macaroni. You're just going to cook it according to the box instructions, except for you want it to be 2 minutes before al dente. So you want your pasta to be firm but not hard. The next thing you're going to do is get a small saucepan, and you can, if you're going to use butter to put in the baking dish, you're going to melt 3 tablespoons of butter in a small saucepan, and then use a pastry brush or a small paper towel, and you're going to rub the butter across your entire dish. And you need a 3-quart baking dish that's either glass or whatever kind of baking dish you want to use, as long as it's 3 quarts. The next thing you're going to do is get a small saucepan, and we're going to add a few ingredients to that. Alright, so the next thing we've done is we've taken the saucepan and we added our 6 tablespoons of butter in here, and we melted that down on medium heat. And then once that was melted, we added our 1/2 cup of flour and we stirred it in, and you can either whisk it or stir it in with like a rubber spatula, as I've done here. And you're just going to stir that until it gets nice and thick, like a roux. And then after you do that, you're going to slowly pour in your 3 cups of milk, your warm milk, and until it's all done. You're going to be constantly stirring, and then you're going to let it get all nice and thick, and it should be nice and thick. It's kind of like pudding, but a little bit different, but it's the same texture. So then you want that to be done, and now we're going to add some more ingredients. So we're going to add all of our little seasonings, all the little 1/2 teaspoon seasonings, and you're just going to dump those in. And we're going to start to stir these around, and I'll come back to you when I'm done stirring this. Okay, now that we've added all our spices and we had that thoroughly mixed in, we're going to add the next ingredients. So we're going to add our garlic, and then once we mix this in, we're going to add all of our cheeses. So we'll get the garlic started, and then we're going to probably going to start with the cheese that has the most. Well, we'll do the other ones because they'll melt easier. They're smaller pieces. So we start with the Fontinella, and you're just going to mix that in. Then it's going to become a very thick cheese sauce. It's not going to be like regular mac and cheese you get out of a box. It's going to be very thick, and it's going to be very good. So now that we have that done, we'll start the next one. Put our other small amount of cheese in there. Start to mix this up. And you can see that it's already, I can feel that it's already getting very thick, but the cheese will melt and it won't be as hard to push around. And then lastly, we're going to put in our sharp cheddar cheese. We're going to start to mix this in. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is combine all of our seafood and our bacon into a large bowl. And you need to make sure that when you do this, this bowl has to be large enough to not only fit all of the meats, but also your 1 pound of large elbow macaroni and your cheese sauce. So we'll get all of this out of here. and we're just going to mix this up. And you can use the same spatula because you're going to have to get all the cheese sauce out anyway, so you'll be putting this back in there, which is good. Okay, so you don't need to mix this up too well to start with, because next you're just going to add your cheese sauce. And like I said before, it's very, very thick. So now we'll really start to mix this up. Alright, our final step is we're going to add our elbow macaroni into this, and then once we mix all that up, we're going to add this into our greased baking dish. So we'll come back to you once we've done all of that. Alright, so all we had to do when we've added all this was it's so much that we had to separate it actually into 2 bowls. That's why you'll notice that this is not the original bowl I had. And we were able to fill this much, but we're not going to be able to fit it all. So you can either put this in the fridge, or you can do a second dish. But once you get it into your baking dish, you're going to take your 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs, which are just like I said earlier, just plain, but it's just to give it some crunch. You're just going to pour these on top, and then using your hand, you're just going to smooth it out across the top and make it nice and even. So once you get these out and spread across, then all we're going to do is put this in the oven, and we're going to bake this for 30 minutes at 375, as I said before. Alright, so it's been 30 minutes and we just pulled the seafood mac and cheese out of the oven, so here's what it looks like. Alright, so you can tell by all of the noodles that they have darkened up, so you can tell that it's done, and the seafood is already pre-cooked, so we know that that's all good. So here's what it looks like, and I hope you enjoy this recipe. Thank you for watching Cooking with Tristan and GourmetFoodGiftPeople.com.